Okay, so I'll start off asking one question to all of you, and if you ever feel like answering it, or if more of you have any views on what I'm going to ask, and chop in. The traditional idea of collaboration rooms is a single physical place. I know we have established a few of those in our company, and I know others have done the same. Do you think that they will be replaced by more of the technology that we saw in Brennin's video, of single or a couple of people sitting geographically dispersed and just collaborating electronically? Or do you think that the sort of human aspect of integration or collaboration that we can't really replace with technology is such a major obstacle that this is never going to happen?
I'll go first. I think that collaboration rooms are only here because the organization demands it. And as we go forward, the organization is going to demand something different. And that is not for decision making to be made in a physical space. That decision making would be a collaborative effort that would be managed electronically. In other words, collaboration will be something I walk around in my hand with the iPad and whatever tools are available, so we can collaborate with data and not have to go to a physical space.
Yeah, just adding on to that, I mean, we're already seeing the development of virtual teams, particularly in ConocoPhillips. Like I said, we have people who are part of the team that are not dispersed geographically, and they work pretty well with the team that we have in the centre, plus with offshore. What we're lacking though are easy to use collaboration tools, particularly across companies. For example, video conference, always on video conference, for example, would be one of the challenges that I see at the moment. But I think as we go forward, we're seeing more and more development of more virtual spaces.
Yes, I guess I mentioned this in my speech also. So I also think that in the future there will be a quite different way of communicating and collaborating. And again, I don't think we can see how we're going to do this in 20 years. So that's the way that you have to always adjust your visions and your thought about the future based on where you are now and how you are thinking. And I don't think we have seen how this will be in 10 years.
It's hard to disagree with that. But I think it's we all experience have the experience that the first time we meet people we haven't met before, it's better to do it in a physical meeting. So that need, I don't think, will go away rapidly. So there's a place also for physical meetings, but of course, as technology for virtual collaboration improves, I think the need for having physical meetings are going to be diminished.
Tend to see that very often the technology is already available, and it's the means of getting there. You need the product. If you look at the iPad, I think the technology has been there for quite some time, but you need some clever person to put it all together in a nice package. And I guess that will also be so in the future, that you need some people who are able to integrate ideas and put them together in the good way. Yeah?
I think that the future will hold different focuses on using the right technology at the right time and communicate with each other using technology by distance, like phones, communication softwares like Skype or different tools, emails we are using like today. And we are also have to talk with each other and learn from each other. Learning from each other is the best thing we can do now and in the future, because knowledge is, of course, the most important we develop.
Seems to go on forever. But, I think it's quite interesting, but you know, you want to predict the future, I couldn't predict that, but I think you need to watch the movies. So that's a good way of predicting the future and how we use technology. You know, James Bond, for example, had the iPad and stuff long before we did. I think an important thing about virtual teams that we're sort of discussing, or in the future of people working in virtual teams, is trust. I think trust is the hardest thing to sort of create, and we need technology tools to enable that sort of trust. I think that's pretty hard. But you know, if you think of the, I guess some of you came here on an aeroplane. I guess the pilot trusted the air traffic controller 110%, and they've never met. They've never, so it can happen.
I have one more comment, but I think anyway you need to have some human interaction. You can't just work in virtual teams all over. So maybe in the starting of every project you will have to have a giant team building in order to people to get some knowledge about each other and how they react on things. So I think still we need people to sit together and talk. Yes.
Go to that brewery.
Any follow-up questions from the audience?
Very straightforward. So 3D technology today is that's it. I've got a voice of it. Anyway, 3D technology today is being used more and more and more. You see that within collaboration environments. Long story short, I mean, I'm talking about future. You take the Android, you hook up, pair of glasses, you could be probably with that person in 3D, getting that social. I'm just saying, that's just mind, what do you call it, brainstorming right now. So for me, so future is 3D, and that will get everybody together in the same room. I wouldn't really be here. You see it already on science fiction, where the guy zooms in, and there he is. So that will be happening very soon, I'm sure. But probably more with glasses then.
Any other questions? Well, we had the video show the future for e-drilling, but I think even on the video you see the awkwardness between the reservoir engineer and the drillers over who's in charge and who's going to tell who to do what. So I guess we can take it that this problem is going to carry on going, or is that problem going to get much easier to solve if everybody's actually talking to each other all the time?
Is that a question to me?
Yeah. Well, they're media studies students or real engineers, aren't they?
No, but we made the manus for them, so maybe we should have made it a bit different. But yeah, I think still you will have experts on each arena that will sit in their arena. So people are like that. And I don't think that will change, but we need to find ways of how to work together.
I have a follow-up question to this. I've made observations within my own organization on lack of taking up on even some of the most rudimentary collaboration tools. I mean, we still have people in our organization that are using 20-year-old net meeting when we've had alternatives that are far better for the last 10 years. And I'm sure that we're going to replace it by something else before most people know how to use it. So, you know, organizational learning is that, how big an obstacle is that to taking up some of these new tools?
I think this is a very good point, because I think new technology enables us to create very interesting and innovative teams of people. At this time, I am working together with a professor in Trondheim. He's an expert on theory. I am the practical designer, and I have a third person that is a researcher in Finland. You know, and we have kind of teamed up, and we are discussing on Skype. We are sharing documents, and it gives us just a wide range of possibilities of making small expert teams that we have not been able to do before. So I think, you know, creating innovative, high-skilled team would be very much possible with new technology.
If I could, I mentioned this in my discussion about the 14 and 15-year-olds that I toured through our center in Houston. And we all know, Mike referred to the gray hairs or no hairs, I'm not sure which, but both probably. So in the demographic issue that we have in the industry, where we know that the people that are coming to take our place today, 14 years old, absolutely will not work the way that we're working today. That's a fact. They need to be trained. They will be trained a different way. They don't look at user manuals. They don't read how to do anything. They pick it up, touch it, and learn it from touch. And we have to understand what that means to us in the industry, because that means we have to change the way that we train our people. We have to change the way that they learn, and we have to understand that the successful companies are those that can distinguish usable knowledge from meaningless data. And so our organizations are going to strictly become knowledge workers, so that they can leverage that knowledge to achieve results we're trying to achieve. Regardless of how they do it, whether it's virtual, whether it's face-to-face, it doesn't matter. But we know that, and it's not going to be 20 years, it won't be 2020, believe me. This is going to happen very, very soon. It has to do with the Android and the goggles, and you know, let's face it, everyone can do this at home today, right? You can have a 3D TV in your house, and you can have a collaborative session with anyone else in the world that has the same setup. It's available today. So the kids, I'm telling you, the kids that are coming to the industry are going to bring that with them, and we will be totally working a different way, I would say, in a lot of areas within the next 5 years. It won't take 10.
And the others in the panel that
with Stavanger. In reference to your film Stavanger, where the reservoir engineers and engineer and decision maker was kind of well aligned, and it turned out fine. We all know that in real life that could not happen also. What if they disagree with each other? Do you have the panel have any views on how that sort of decision making will be handled in the future?
Okay, I'll please cover that. I think it's. I think in the future you're going to see people that are not just single discipline people, and they will not be educated as single discipline people. I think that's something that we're already seeing now. So, for example, we have drilling engineers with quite a high geological sort of background and training. I think also you need to, if you want people to change their behavior, I think incentives always work, and carrots. So and that's not necessarily, you know, an extra so many kronas in their salary. It could be time off, think about their lifestyle. It could be some people office environment, working schedules. It could be all sorts of things. And I think these are the things we have to work on, and that's certainly what we are working on at Conoco First. And yes.
Start talking and
in the year There are, in our organization, there are a lot of people working in different teams or groups, and they might have different kind of softwares and working from different vendors, having different models, and you have this kind of silo structure in our organization. So how could that challenge be solved when the other G&G people are sitting there with one model and the drillers have another model, and they try to work together?
Well, I think this is one for them.
Okay, so remember, I'm an accountant. I don't know anything about obviously, it's a key issue and a point of discussion from a technology standpoint. The idea about having integrated operations to begin with means that you have to integrate the tools that you're using, and of course at Landmark we have an approach on how to do that. But I think it strikes at the heart of the problem that I think that we face with the change out in the workforce. That the tools that we are using today, if our companies like Landmark are not thinking about the way the tools are going to be used very soon, then we're not doing the right thing to develop those tools for the future. For example, the idea that a company has to buy a perpetual license of a software is something that's evaporating very quickly. Software is going to be delivered as a service over the internet. We all know that. That's where we have to go from a tool standpoint. If we have the ability to do that, and any tool can be used inside of a virtual environment, then that begins to deliver the integration that we want from a usability standpoint. So for me, I think about it as we need to understand how we should be developing those tools for delivery in the future, not, again, for the discussion, problem solving, not trying to solve the problem today, but figure out the ways that we can use those tools best in the future to avoid problems. This is a risk avoidance, right? So for me, it's integration of the tools to make sure that we can avoid the problem and not have to get out of it. I tell the kids when they come for a tour, the analogy I use is it's better to stay out of jail than to get out of jail. This is what we have to do.
I think the description you gave of the different silos is certainly one that's very familiar, and there are moves to standardize data formats and so on, but I think in reality we're going to, for many years ahead, see that those silos will remain. There will be very hard to manage to implement the full integration of tools from many vendors. So one approach that we're following is to accept that as the status, but we have to look at how people collaborate using those tools. You don't necessarily have to share the information directly, but if they are able to collaborate in a structured manner and to exchange ideas, maybe use better collaboration tools to extract the main assets from each tool usage, and to discuss those items on the higher level, so to say, what you could call a collaboration board. We're, for example, looking at how we could use visual idea mapping, looking at how ideas support other ideas, and to share those arguments instead of sharing the actual application data. That's a way of sort of making a discussion more structured on a higher level, but referring to the real data and the actual applications. So then you can reach consensus on a decision without having merged the data.
Yeah, I was thinking about a book I read some time ago. I think it is edited by Donald Norman, but I think the name of this guy is Bannon. And he says that if you are going to design or build a tool, then you have to bring along your domain experts. Don't be afraid to bring along these highly skilled geologist or engineer, because otherwise you would design a toy, not a tool. I think that is very important. Design for the expert operator.
Any further questions from the audience?
I have one question. How can the need for integration and sharing information be reconciled with the need to secure the data and keep it confidential, which is a need for any vendor and all company? Sorry.
That is striking at the heart of everything we're talking about, right? This is the thing that's very funny to me. We live in a world where everything that we do, every one of us in this room do online banking, online investing. We purchase materials and things over the internet. We do all of that openly over the internet, but yet we're afraid to share a video conferencing between the office and the rig. And something's wrong with this picture, right? I can put an alert on my checking account to tell me when my balance goes below a certain point, but I can't get an alert on my iPhone when the bit gets stuck. And this makes no sense to me. So I think we have to reconcile that as an industry about what are we doing from the standpoint of managing data and securing data, and understand there's a buyout on both sides. Nobody wants unsecured data, but it has to be delivered for the right purpose, to the right person. Right? So that's going to be a very big challenge for us with the workforce change, because the kids, when they come, it's just data to them. They're not really caring about whether is it secure or not. They see it as a need and they want to get to it. Right? And that's going to be a big challenge for our industry very, very soon.
I have a follow-up question to that. You have worked in other industries before starting working in the oil industry, and one thing that struck me was that the oil industry appeared to be quite, shall we say, conservative in taking up some new technology. And I think I sense some of the same in some of the project work I'm involved in now, where the next design is a copycat of the previous design. So, yet if this workforce, as you were talking about, is changing so rapidly, what are the biggest challenges there, and what can we do to make sure we are ready for the new young workforce that in a few years' time we're going to take over this operation?
Okay, so when I started my discussion, I asked how many HR people there were in the room, and there were 0. So we're talking about changing and transforming the industry to something different, but we don't even have the people in the room that can help us. And it's the HR people, right? They have to be involved with everything that we're doing, and we don't have them involved with projects. Just for me, it's a big mistake. We're talking about taking guys off the rig and putting them in a room, and that completely changes their life. It changes their compensation model, it changes the way they work, it changes their home life with their family. But yet we don't have the HR guys sitting in the room to help us understand what that means. So we have a big challenge in the industry to begin with from managing our people. The new workforce coming in is going to add to that complexity from an HR standpoint, incredibly huge impact on how we have to manage those. Because I know, I've seen this already, and I'm sure some of you have seen this too. You hire a top graduate engineer from a top university, and he comes in and he's only in your organization for 2 years, and you do his exit interview and you find out why. And most of the times I've seen that, it has been because they have not felt empowered. They have not felt like they've had the ability to get to where they want to go as fast as they want to go. And what that means is they live in the internet world and they come to work for us, and we put them back in the file cabinet. And that's a big problem for us. We have to fix that.
I agree on that. We have to be visionary, all of us, in order to try to talk about vision for the future and how we foresee that things will go.
I agree that we can probably do a lot to improve the image of the industry to young people, but there are some factors outside this room which we cannot change. It has to do with the oil industry being looked upon as the old industry. And so there are much more issues than the technology and making the working environment more attractive and so on. I think there are high-level political and sort of industrial issues that maybe drive out youngsters more than the working environment.
Yeah, it's also, I'm sorry to keep, I'm almost repeating my presentation. It's also the question I asked why we had no marketing and communication people in the room, because this is a part of educating the new workforce, right? They don't know about the industry because we don't tell them. As I said, all they know about us are bad things. The high price of gas at the pump, pollution in the water, corruption in some countries in the world. So everything they know about us is bad, and it's our fault for not educating them to tell them, what are we doing? No industry affects our daily life like the oil industry does. That's confirmed, right? If it wasn't for the oil industry, there'd be no airline industry, there'd be no automobile industry. So when we say to the kids, this is the foundation for everything that you have in your life, come and be a part of it. We need to educate them and get them to see the benefit, the technology, the challenges that we do. I talk to them about drilling a well 35,000 feet below the surface. That's like swishing a basketball from 7 miles. How many, and this puts it in their mind that they never thought about that way. And when they see that challenge, it's something they get excited about, especially when they see the technology that we're using today to do that.
I agree on that, and from a marketing point of view, I think that the industry shouldn't present themselves with a helmet and dirty clothes, and that's the biggest mistake this industry does to attract new people. So I've had questions about presenting drilling simulator, and people ask, okay, but where is the helmet? It's in a simulator. So the problem is that we have to think about this ourselves, how we present ourselves. So
yeah, I agree with that. Just really interesting. It was interesting to hear Charles saying that we had a lot of high school kids coming through the centre. Some of you know we spend a lot of time in Conco Cliffs with young people, students. We actually partake on an IO course in conjunction with Halliburton and the University of Stavanger and the University of Bergen. We have this year, I think we have over 850 visitors to the, well, it's not just the drilling centre, it's the whole facilities, IO facilities. We have to try and, in a way, educate people and change this perception of the oil industry, and I agree it's pretty bad. And we're very conservative, very traditional.
Okay, it's running up to 1 o'clock, and unless there's any other important, well, yeah, good question.
One other comment if I can. I guess you can hear me without the microphone. You mentioned USA and the perception about the oil industry there. I think there is a difference between Norway and most of the rest of the world, because here we started out as a high technology business, very attractive business, very highly paid business, which attracted a lot of talent and attracted a lot of industries, which has been in the forefront of technology development, which is part of why we're here today. And I think we've been fortunate in Norway because of that image, that perception about the oil industry in contrast to the US. Okay, we had the Bravo incident, but and we had also some very bad accidents in the North Sea, but that still didn't distract the attention from talents from going to our industry. I understand that there's a difference in the US and other places because of incidents that happened there, but how to get them to the same balance point is going to be difficult.
Yeah, no, I started my discussion this morning about the advantage that you guys have in Norway, right? and that's very clear. But let me give you this this tidbit. You guys remember last summer when Macondo was blowing away, right? I would guess everyone in this room, I know everyone I know, everyone was watching that happen over the internet. Nobody saw the explosion in 1972 or whatever it was in the North Sea. Nobody would have known about it unless your company would have said anything, right? But today it is all public information. It's available to everybody on their iPhone 24/7, anywhere in the world, to watch a well leaking, in the Gulf of Mexico. That completely changes the perception, and in the case of the public, perception is reality. And so we have to change that perception so that they have a different view. And it is a challenge for us in the U.S. Unfortunately, it's I think a little bit harder for us because we don't have a national oil company that gives us some guidelines on how to do it. Every company is sort of free to do their own marketing, right? So we don't have some rules to play by as far as the communication and marketing of what we want the industry to look like in the U.S. It is a bad boy in the U.S., right? And like it or not, it's treated that way politically, and it's treated that way economically. Everyone sees it as a necessity, a bad necessity, and don't see it as a real contributor to our quality of life. And that's, I think, a perception we have to change.
Okay, I think we'll just leave it at that. And so thanks a lot for the panel attendance. This was quite an interesting discussion at this time. And please be back here at 2 o'clock sharp.
The lunch is in the restaurant downstairs at Morgan and wow, I think it's called. Thank you very much.